Damn it. That was all of my biomass. Uh, I need to refill. Izuku would turn around and he would glide away, looking for something to regain his biomass. The black light virus would say, he won't get that far. Izuku crashes into a nearby alley and says, Ugh, I need to find food quick. Literally anything, something. Looking around, he sees a homeless dog, a golden retriever to be specific. Izuku looks at the dog like it was his lunch. Izuku shakes his head. No, 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 no. He tried to walk away, but the loyal golden retriever followed Izuku around. Izuku says, "No, dog, go away. I don't want to eat you. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to do anything to you. Please, just go." The dog would continue to follow him, and Izuku then begged the dog to leave him. But then the blacklight virus landed just about a few feet away from Izuku. Izuku desperately needed biomass really bad, and unfortunately, the only nearby biomass that could provide him with was the dog. Izuku looked to the blacklight virus and then back to the dog. He would then kneel down and he would say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Izuku then conjured his claws out and pierced the dog, hashing and slashing at it into pieces and consuming it. The dog screamed in agony. Oh my god, that sounds awful. As its body then disappeared into Izuku's. The dog's blood stained the ground and the walls of the alley that they were in, but at least Izuku had some biomass and was able to fight. Izuku sees that he was constantly bleeding in his chest, and so he used the armor ability to cover up his chest, this making sure that he has more mobility, but it does kind of slow him down only a little bit. Izuku stares into the eyes of the black light virus with anger, and it spoke. You see? It's more easier that way. That's what all that power is for, son. Don't call me your son. You are not my dad. Izuku then turned his arms into blades, and he charges at the black light virus and say, I will never be like you. Both of the blades then clashed into each other, causing sparks to fly. Each of them exchanged swings and dodges at each other. Izuku saw he was a lot more faster than the Black Light Virus. Izuku would be able to get the upper hand on the virus and make it move backwards. Izuku thinks to himself, I have to be quick. The longer I use this armor, the more biomass I lose. But I don't want to kill him. He looks like my dad. Maybe if I remove his arms, he won't be much of a threat. Let's try it. Izuku then charges in and he yells, Here I go! With a 360 spin, he then swings his arms around and then swings his arms downwards towards the black light virus. And the claws connected to his arms, but unfortunately, the black light virus managed to channel his armor as well, making it impossible for Izuku to inflict any harm on him. He was covered from head to toe in armor. Izuku's eyes widen as the black light virus looked at him and says, You're gonna have to be a lot more quicker than that, kid. He then activated Hammer Fist and he gave Izuku a left hook, causing him to fly back a few feet. Izuku then quickly got up and turned his attention back to the blacklight virus. He then caught his breath, and the blacklight virus turned around to see a homeless man laying on a ground as a pad of boxes as his bedding. The blacklight virus says, "You know what? I'm not feeling hungry, but I can have a bite. Let me have this snack. I'll get back to you in just 1 second. Izuku says no, but then he takes a second to look closer at the homeless man. He sees that he's pumped himself with drugs. Izuku thought that if he let the blacklight virus consume this man, there's a chance that he could deprive him of all motor skills, and that means that the homeless man will die. At that point, Izuku had a choice to either let the blacklight virus eat this man alive and possibly gain the upper hand, or save this man's life and fight with the littlest of biomass that he has remaining. Izuku then shakes his head and says, "No, why am I even considering that?" He then ran in, grabbed the blacklight virus, and jumped off, gliding high into the sky. As they're both in the sky, Izuku would begin to punch at the blacklight virus over and over again. As he's doing this, he had no idea that he was flying him and the blacklight virus to Times Square of New York City. Izuku looked around and had regrets flowing flowing through him, excuse me, for he could not redirect himself in another direction. They both would then crash into Times Square, where there are lots of peoples and heroes that will get hurt because of him. So he had to think, so he had to think of something quick. When they came up to look at both Izuku and the Blacklight virus to make sure that they were all right, well, first they both crashed into a hot dog stand when they came in for landing. When it happened, scalding hot boiling water splattered onto them. Some got onto Deku's legs, leaving them in blisters and burns, while the Blacklight virus got the hot water in his face, horribly burning him and some of his skin melting off and also blinding him. Izuku limps and crawls towards his opponent, but then, after all the flying and commotion that he caused, the armor that was stopping the bleeding then turned back into his body. Oh no, and he was feeling hungry again. Oh no, not again, not again. Looking around, and he sees people surrounding them, asking them if they're okay. Izuku looked over and saw the Blacklight virus about to get up and attack people, but then Izuku managed to get the people to run away by saying that this man, pointing to the Blacklight virus, has a bomb. Everyone get away. They would all run, and in Izuku's head, he just told the people that there was a terrorist attack. So, therefore, pro heroes and potential FBI may be here shortly. So, if he was going to finish this, he was going to have to do it now. He quickly got up and looked around for food to regain his biomass. But after telling everyone about a bomb threat, every store around them was closed and locked up. Izuku couldn't rush inside and get food to regain his biomass, and he was bleeding again. Luckily for him, the hot dog stand that they crashed did have hot dogs. So, regretfully, he took a few off the ground and ate them. Ugh, this is disgusting. Izuku thought to himself that he can't use his armor, for it could take up more of his biomass. So, he's going to have to be careful of what he does next. The two would then charge at each other. Though the Blacklight virus was blind, he could still hear and smell it. Izuku. The Blacklight virus would just randomly swing his blades in where he heard the sound from. Izuku would dodge, saving his biomass and only using when he really needs it. As the Blacklight virus continues to swing, he says, "You can't dodge forever. You know you're gonna have to fight back sometime. The way he spoke, it sounded like he was getting desperate. To Izuku, that means that he might have a chance of winning. Everything seems to be going good for him until the owner of the clothing store came out to investigate the noises that was going on. Izuku said, "Oh crap." The blacklight virus then turned its attention to the man, and when he heard his voice, he immediately threw a car at him. Izuku, being as fast as he could, would run at the shopkeeper and quickly tackle him out of the path of the car that was lunged at him. But in doing so, it hit Izuku instead. Izuku grunted, using the littlest of strength as possible as to get the car off of him. He gets back up and says, "Okay, you know what? I'm tired of this. It's time to end this." Izuku then raised his fists up and turned his muscle mass on to increase his strength. He then ran over to the blacklight virus to face him. Izuku managed to make it bleed and feared for its life. But then it grabbed Izuku by the throat, stopping him. The blacklight virus said, "Okay, that was good. Now, how about we have some real fun?" The blacklight virus then started to change shape. Its clothes started ripping off of its body. It started to grow in size, and Izuku watched as he continues to strangle him. The hair on the back of his head stood up for the horror. For its eyes then glowed red, and then it grew like four more arms, making six arms, which each of them had different weapons. There was the hammer fist, the whip fist, the muscle mass, the claw, the scythe arm, and the armored arm. He continues to grow, and its skin turns a bloody red, and it looked like it's been turned inside out. It was a horrible sight to anyone who saw him. When his transformation was done, his his arms and legs were badly swollen, and it had a big old pot belly, and its mouth was had no lip. All you could see was a gaping hole with teeth and like all circles around the mouth. He thought to himself, if this is what the blacklight virus can do, am I going to change into something like this someday? Izuku watched as this thing stared at him. He then found himself flying through the air and his back hitting a building, leaving a huge crater in the side of it. Izuku was tired. He was feeling so exhausted. He lost a lot of blood, and he just felt like he was going to pass out and that he couldn't fight anymore. As blood began to run down his forehead, he said, "So, this is it, huh? I failed to save people from this monster. My father helped resurface." Izuku faded in and out of consciousness, but in the middle of falling asleep, he says, "Wait, what about the girl? Is she gonna be okay? Is she going to perish because I was too weak to do anything?" Izuku had a flashback to when the blacklight virus said that that little girl was his sister, and those words echoed in his mind. My sister. My sister. My sister. Izuku suddenly felt a rush of adrenaline flowing through him, and Izuku thought about the moment that he doesn't care about what happens to him as long as his sister, mother, and his friends were safe from this thing. That's all that matters. But first, he was going to need a little help. Izuku would then allow the dark persona that lies within him to take control of his body for a short minute. At that time, Izuku turned his arms into claws, but something else happened. You see, the outlines of his body and his claws started to glow orange. His eyes would also glow red, and he would jump off from the side of the building, landing on his feet, doing a superhero landing. While the monster was focused on destroying everything in its path, Izuku sees his opportunity and attacks. He runs in and slashes at the heel of the monster, making it fall to the ground, unable to stand up. Moving as fast as he could, Izuku went for one of the monster's arms, cutting off its whip fist. It then let out a loud scream, and it as it lied there on the ground. It swings its arms from the pain, and then Izuku went for the armored hand, and then the and then the muscle mass hand. Like his arms were being cut off with ease. Izuku says, "You know, for a guy who said he can't feel pain, you sure do scream a lot." Inside Izuku's head, he was watching the whole thing that was happening. He says to himself, man, he's really fast and he hasn't shown any signs of exhaustion. And to top it all off, he's somehow not using any of the biomass when he's using the claws. How so? In the fight, the monster was getting more and more desperate. He says, "This isn't over. I can take all these buildings and people with the Devastator attack. Let's see you stop this." The monster's body then began to have the same effect when Izuku used Devastator, only this time it was more devastating. Izuku had to think fast, and using his super strength, he then grabbed the monster by its neck and he took him up the side of a building. When he reaches the end of the building, he then did a big leap into the air. The blacklight virus attack was almost ready. As they got higher and higher into the sky, Izuku then went to the head area of the monster, for that is the only spot where tendrils will not shoot out when he does the Devastator. Gravity then began to pull both of them back down to the ground, and Izuku, a little dumbfounded, sees this and, come on, just do it! Without even knowing, the blacklight virus then shot thousands of tendrils all over the place, and all the tendrils reached out to us to a point where it actually blocked out the sun. Luckily, no buildings were destroyed and nobody got hurt. But there was the matter of gravity that Izuku had to worry about. Izuku sees his situation, but he also notices that he's in the falling path of the monster, and so he readies himself and gets an idea. He balls up both of his fists as they both get closer and closer to the ground. Izuku then yelled, "Spike Devastation!" They both hit the ground. Izuku had landed on top of the blacklight virus, planting both of his fists in its stomach, and spikes not only appeared from inside the blacklight virus, but about a few feet that were surrounded by Izuku. Luckily, nobody was hurt, just a little bit of minor road damage. Izuku stands there over the body of the Blacklight virus, looking like his father once again, but this time there were stab wounds all over its body and it was out of clothing. And Izuku managed to regain control of himself again. He then looks down at the Blacklight virus, wondering what to do next. He had won, but it's not over. The Blacklight virus spoke. This isn't over. As long as there is a piece of me left, I can recover from this in a matter of days. You can try to hide, but I will find you and the girl. I will become God, and I will take this world. This I promise you, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku knew that that was true. As long as there was a piece of this thing left, it would always come back to him. But then, Izuku managed to get an idea. He does remember that the only way to take out someone who's like the Blacklight virus or Izuku was to cremate it until there was nothing left. But Izuku's plan was so unpleasant that it honestly made his stomach rumble even thinking about it. With a serious face on, Izuku then grabbed the Blacklight virus that looks like his dad by the throat and brings it up to his face, and he said, "Then I'll eat you. So that's one way that you'll never come back from." The Blacklight virus would laugh, and he would say, "Ow, you don't have the balls." He was right. Izuku couldn't even raise his hands up, let alone eat this thing. But then he heard the voice inside his head speak. "Then let me do it. You don't even have to look. Just let me take control and end this." Izuku turned his head away from his father look-alike, and he closed his eyes and said, "Goodbye, Papa." The screen then fades to black as Izuku can hear the sound effects of swinging blades and blood being splattered all over the ground and something that sounded like slurping. Suddenly, Izuku started seeing his father's past, to when he was a kid, to when he met Mom. Even that day of his birth, he saw it. But there was a secret message in the memories that Izuku saw. On that day that his father left, he went to the bathroom and he spoke to the mirror. "Hello, son. If you're seeing this, then I guess that means what I think it means, and that I ended up losing control of a Blacklight virus. Just allow me to be the first to say that I'm sorry, that if it caused you any harm or trouble. It's just, originally I was going to go to America and try to save at least what was left of Elizabeth Green. But I know that the company was about to do something foolish and impregnate her with my DNA. I duly do hope, son, that you're not mad at me. But by the most, I would like you to put your anger aside and look after your younger sister. She needs someone to look after her. And of course, you and your mother are the perfect ones. She can trust you guys with ease." God damn it, Izuku. I'm so proud of you. You really are going to make a difference in this world one of these days. And it's just like I told you. On that day, when I left, it's like I said, Whether you're quirkless or not, you were always my hero. Goodbye. Hasashi then turns around and opens the door, and the memory ends. Izuku then wakes up and finds himself inside a building. There was clothes on racks, and there was a cooling fan on the ceiling. He slowly gets up and painfully starts to walk with a lot of struggle and the pain in his chest. He also looked down and saw that his chest was all bandaged up. Where where am I? Said Izuku. He then heard the voice of a man saying, "You are in my shop." Izuku turns around and he sees the man that he saved from the flying car. He was an elder Asian man. He would approach Izuku and say, "I saved you, just like you saved me back there. I gotta say, you and that guy really did make a lot of collateral damage, we'll say." Izuku would try walking, but he would feel so much pain around his body. "How long have I been out?" "Only for a few hours," said the shopkeeper. "When you passed out, I, I saw pro heroes and big trucks coming this way. So I dragged you inside and I bandaged you up so that they wouldn't arrest you." "Oh, well, thank you, kind sir." "You're welcome. But you gotta get to a hospital. I'm surprised you haven't died from blood loss yet." Izuku said, "No, it's fine. In a few hours, all these wounds will heal up." Izuku then remembers the little girl and he says, "Oh no, I have to go." "Wait, wait, wait. You can't leave this shop yet. You need to rest." "Well, I'm sorry, sir, but I have to go, and my little sister, she's all by herself." "Well, if you're gonna go, you can't go out looking like that. You look like you just murdered somebody." "Which you just did, but like, hey, that guy was trying to kill me, so how about I provide you with some clothes?" "Oh, well, sir, I'm sorry, but I don't have any money for these clothes." "No, no, I'll give them to you for free. Free of charge. Any clothes you want. All for saving my life." "Really? Um, okay." A minute goes by. Izuku had made a whole outfit for him to wear, but there was one problem. He was still bleeding through his clothes. Just to verify, he was wearing blue jeans, a white t-shirt, and a gray hoodie, and I think a white button-up shirt. The shopkeeper then said, "Here, I got an idea." He walks over to the window, and then he removes the jacket that Izuku saw the first time he showed up in America, New York City. Izuku says, "But sir, I can't take that." "No, no, 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 no. I can tell that you and this jacket were meant to be." The shopkeeper then assists in putting on the jacket for Izuku, and it was a perfect fit, surprisingly to him. "There. Now you look less suspicious." Just to verify, he looks like Alex Mercer now. "Thank you, sir. I really do appreciate all your help." "No problem. Now you be careful out there." Izuku then leaves. The police were still investigating and questioning people about what was going on, but Izuku managed to slip past them. When he reached back to the building, he looked up at the top of it and saw the damage that he had done, hoping that the little girl was not there or hurt or anything. He entered the building while yelling, "Little girl! Little girl, where are you?" "It's alright, that bad man is gone." Ugh. Izuku falls to his knees from exhaustion. While making his way upstairs, to the missing rooftop area, Izuku could not find the girl. When he reached the top, he held out hope that he didn't harm her when he did the devastating move. Suddenly, Izuku's legs then gave way, and blood began to spill from his wounds again. As he falls to the ground, tears fall down from his face. He feels horrible. I didn't mean to hurt her. She didn't even have a name. A name. Izuku's vision starts to fade. A name. And then he falls asleep. Izuku really needed to rest at that moment. As he lied there on the ground, his body was being dragged away. He faded in and out of consciousness to find himself heading down the stairs. And he heard a voice that said, "Here." He felt water on his lips and he swallowed it. Izuku could not see who it was giving it to him, but he would fall back asleep. A few more hours would pass, and Izuku would be awakened by the rising sun hitting him in the face. He slowly gets up and he feels around his wounds. They've been healed up, and his vision was still a bit blurry, but it eventually came back to him and he was able to see his surroundings. He was on the bottom floor, and he found himself laying on a pile of blankets. He looked over and saw the little girl sleeping next to him. Izuku took a sigh of relief and said, "Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness I didn't hurt her." "Hey, wake up." The little girl would then open her eyes and she would look at him. "Hey, did you set all this up?" The girl would then nod her head. "Oh, well, great job, and thank you for taking care of me." Izuku gets out of his laying area and he stretches. He thinks to himself, "Man, what am I going to do with her? She doesn't have anywhere to go, and I highly doubt she has any other family members, well, except for me." Izuku then walked back to the girl and he takes her by the hands, saying, "Hey, listen, our dad is gone. He can't hurt you anymore. I'm going to take you away from here to a safer place, and you're going to live with me, okay? Are you okay with that?" The girl would then smile a little bit and she would nod her head. And Izuku would say, "Okay, well, first things first, we need to give you a name." Izuku thinks for a second and he looks around, and apparently, while he was unconscious, the girl would actually find a book called "Oh, My Darling Clementine." Izuku then said, "How about Clementine? Do you like that?" A smile comes across the girl's face and she nodded her head with excitement. "Okay, great. Come on, let's go get you some clothes. Get you out of those rags." Soon after, Izuku took Clementine to the clothing store with the shopkeeper and got her some clothes. Soon, they both would board a flight back to Japan. While in the sky, Clementine had fallen asleep while leaning against Izuku, tightly embracing his arm. Izuku thought to himself, "What am I going to tell Mom when I get back home with the little girl? Is she going to hate me for what I've done to Dad? I mean, technically that wasn't him, but still, that was her husband, and I... Izuku rubs his eyes, just trying to think of what he's going to do next when he gets home. He opens his eyes and he looks down at the ocean water with the beauty of the light of the sun reflection, just an infinite beauty of blue sea. Clementine, who is still asleep, is being carried by Deku up the stairs to his apartment. He makes it to his floor and he takes one last exhale. He knocks on the door, and after a few seconds, Inko opens it. And she says, "Izuku, oh my god, where have you been?" Izuku shushes her. He gestures over to the little girl who is sleeping. Inko whispers, Who is that?" Without even giving his mother an answer, Izuku walks past her and to his bedroom. Inko would follow. Izuku would then lay Clementine down in his bed and would throw the covers over her. He quietly leaves the room and he shuts the door. Inko speaks, but quietly. "Son, who is that?" When she said that, Izuku broke out into tears and hugged his mother. "Son, what's wrong?" Izuku did not answer, for what he was feeling was too painful to talk about. What felt like about hours later, Izuku finally stopped crying and he finally was able to tell his mother about what happened. When the story had reached its end, Inko's face dropped a few tears herself. Izuku would embrace his mom and he would say, "I'm sorry, Mom, but it was either him or me. It wasn't even the real him, but I'm sorry." Izuku would say, well, wait a minute. Okay, Inko would say, Inko would say, Izuku would say, "I don't know. I don't know. I just can't believe they would." Or Inko would say, "I don't know. I don't know. I just can't believe that your father would be involved in something like that. But you are my real son, right? You're not like him." Izuku would say, "Mom, I can assure you that I am 100% your son. I can remember every part of my life." Surprisingly enough, I think that was because of the injection that Dad gave me that night that kind of enhanced my brain chemistry. So, like, yeah, I'm able to remember a lot of things, but I can assure you I am Izuku Midoriya. I'm here. Inko would then grab Izuku and hug him, saying, "I'm glad you're okay, but what about the girl?" Izuku would say, "Well, her name is Clementine, Mom, and she's a part of our family now. I do hope that you can accept her." Inko says, "Of course I can. I'm glad you brought her here. She's in a better place now. But I must ask, son, with all that you just went through, what are you going to do?" Izuku thinks for a second and he says, "Well, first off, I gotta help Clementine understand her abilities. Because it's like he said, she's much more stronger than me and him combined. So I gotta make sure that I raise her right. And also, I gotta go get ready for school tomorrow." Izuku smiles and he walks off and takes a shower. He calls Bakugo and lets him know that he's back. Bakugo would say, "Well, dude, what happened?" "Kachan, you might want to take a seat." We then fade to black and then reappear at UA. Bakugo and Izuku were taking in the beauty of their school, but they started walking, but as they were walking, Izuku couldn't help but feel hungry. Even though he had a good breakfast, he feels like he hasn't had enough. Ugh, why am I so hungry? He then looked over to Bakugo, and for some reason he looked so delicious. Oh no, said Izuku. And that is the end of this chapter of What If Deku Obtained the Blacklight Virus. So, I'm not gonna lie, this felt rushed. And I really don't like rushing. The thing is that I was like just breaking it down from little pieces, like to 20 minutes to like 30 minutes. But like, I don't think I feel so comfortable doing it like that. I'm probably better off just doing it how I've always been doing it, and just make like an hour-long video. So yeah, I'm just gonna go back to that. But anyway, I hope that everyone enjoyed this video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, never said that in a long time, and if you made it to the end of this video, consider yourselves #blessed. I hope that everyone has a nice day. Goodbye.